More than 30 people were wounded after Russia launched hundreds of drones and nearly 24 missiles across Ukraine.
Israeli forces intercepted a Gaza-bound aid flotilla off the coast of Cyprus after it departed from Turkey last week.
More than 30 people were wounded after Russia launched hundreds of drones and nearly 24 missiles across Ukraine overnight into Monday. The city of Dnipro and the surrounding central region of Ukraine bore the brunt of the attack, officials said. Damage was also reported in Ukraine's Odessa, Chernihiv and Zaporizhzhia regions. The barrage continued a recent spiral of long-range strikes that have grown in scale following a 3-day ceasefire brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump, but which had little impact. Russia hammered Ukraine over several days last week, flattening a Kyiv apartment building where 24 people died. Meanwhile, in more than 4 years of war, Ukraine has built up its own long-range capabilities, unleashing one of its largest drone strikes on Russia on Sunday, killing at least 4 people. That has increased the pressure on Putin, whose army is struggling to make progress on the battlefield and who claimed earlier this month that the war is approaching its end. Still, there is no sign a peace deal is taking shape despite US-led diplomatic efforts to end Russia's full-scale invasion. Andriy Yermak, the former chief of staff of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, has been released on a €2.7 million bail after spending 4 days in custody as part of a major anti-corruption investigation. The bail was reportedly paid by multiple sources after Andriy Yermak said on the 13th of May that he could not afford to pay it himself and would rely on friends for help. According to Ukraine's anti-corruption investigators, Yermak is a suspect in a large money laundering probe tied to the construction of a luxury residence complex outside Kyiv. They're investigating a scheme where up to €9 million was laundered between 2021 and 2025 through the construction of the high-end residence complex. If convicted, Yermak could face up to 12 years in jail. Yermak and his lawyer denied wrongdoing, calling the charges unfounded. Yermak also vowed to appeal the court's ruling. Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau said last week that Zelensky has no connection to the corruption investigation.
Israeli forces intercepted a Gaza-bound aid flotilla off the coast of Cyprus after it departed from Turkey last week. It is the latest of numerous attempts of the flotilla to deliver aid to the Palestinian territory by sea. Gaza continues to suffer a severe shortage of food, medicine and other essential supplies. Israel controls all entry points into Gaza, which have been under blockade since 2007. Footage from cameras on board the vessel showed activists wearing life jackets and raising their hands as a military vessel with Israeli troops approached them. Armed soldiers then boarded the boats, and the live broadcast was abruptly cut off. Unlike previous operations which were carried out during the night, the Israeli military boarded the vessels in broad daylight this time. Earlier, Israel's foreign ministry warned that it would not tolerate any breach of the naval blockade it has imposed on the Gaza Strip. It claims the flotilla's aim was to, quote, serve Hamas. Turkey, meanwhile, condemned the operation. It says the interception of the flotilla in international waters is an act of piracy.
Over 100 nautical miles away.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's party suffered a historic loss to the Conservative Popular Party in Andalusian regional elections on Sunday in a vote that is considered a preview of next year's national vote. The Socialists, led by Maria Jesus Montero, took just 28 of 109 available seats, while the main Conservative Popular Party, which has been governing Andalusia since 2019 and is presided by Juanma Moreno, won 53, too short of a majority. The far-right Vox party took 15 seats and could be a potential kingmaker, as the PP has previously formed coalition governments with Vox in other regions. It has not ruled out collaborating with Vox at next year's national elections. Regions hold broad powers in key areas such as healthcare, education and housing, making this election a decisive test within Spain's decentralized system. The elections took place in a context marked by fatigue with the national government and several corruption investigations involving the Prime Minister's inner circle and former aides.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has called on the European Commission to relax its fiscal rules for households and industries struggling with rising energy costs. In a letter sent to Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, Meloni said the bloc should treat energy security with the same level of urgency and importance as defense spending. Meloni argued security should not be measured just in military terms, but also by whether factories can continue operating, families can afford energy bills, and governments can maintain economic stability. Her call comes amid growing concerns that escalating tensions in the Middle East could trigger another energy crisis. Meloni argues that Brussels previously loosened its budget rules in response to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, as well as growing concerns over Europe's military preparedness. Italy is now seeking similar flexibility for emergency energy measures.
A Spanish court has ordered the tax authority to refund Colombian pop star Shakira more than 55 million euros, which it ruled were improperly collected in a dispute over her taxes from 2011. The ruling concluded that tax authorities had failed to prove that the artist resided in Spain for more than 183 days, the required amount to be considered a tax resident in the country. She had in fact spent 163 days in the country, the ruling found. The Hips Don't Lie singer is now set to receive more than 55 million euros in the amount she had initially paid plus legal interest. Tax authorities had also argued she lived in Spain long enough to be liable for taxes between 2012 and 2014, but she reached a separate settlement for that case with prosecutors back in 2023, avoiding a broader fraud case. Following the verdict, she denounced being treated as guilty for years, enduring brutal public shaming and orchestrated campaigns to destroy her reputation.
Around 10 new suspected victims have come forward as part of a French probe into the network of late U.S. sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. France opened a human trafficking investigation after the U.S. Justice Department released the latest batch of the Epstein files in January. French magistrates are looking to investigate possible offenses committed in France or involving French perpetrators who facilitated his crimes. The Paris prosecutor said in total around 20 suspected victims made themselves known, including about 10 who were already known to investigators.
A celebratory opening ceremony marked the start of trading for Uzbekistan's National Investment Fund, known as UZNEF, on the London Stock Exchange. The fund launched simultaneously in London and Tashkent through a dual listing structure, marking the country's first international equity offering.
Not only is it the first ever international IPO out of Uzbekistan, but it also opens the gates for more global investment to flow into this exciting and high-growth economy.
UZNEF was created in 2024 and includes stakes in 13 state-linked companies operating across sectors including energy, telecommunications, transport and banking. The fund is managed by Franklin Templeton, the US-based global investment company appointed to oversee the portfolio and support its international market strategy.
While we celebrate in London today, UZNEF has also begun trading on the Tashkent Stock Exchange, marking the largest local listing to date and enabling Uzbek citizens to invest directly in their country's future.
According to official data, investor demand exceeded the initial offering by more than 4 times during the book-building process, generating more than $2.8 billion in orders from international investors. The IPO raised around $603 million and valued the fund at approximately $1.95 billion. International investors participating in the offering included BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, and Redwill.
9 years ago, Uzbekistan was still largely closed. And today we are building an economy that is competitive, investment-driven, and globally connected. This IPO is not just about raising capital. It is about building trust in a new generation of Uzbek institutions.
Officials and investors said the listing could open the way for future international offerings linked to Uzbek companies and capital markets.
I'm 57 years old, coming from a very machista country called Spain, where there is an average of 2 women killed monthly by their ex-husbands or ex-boyfriends, which is horrible. Just that amount of women being murdered, it's unbelievable. And we kind of normalized it. It's like, well, yeah, it's horrible. I mean, are we nuts? We are killing women because some men think they own them, they possess them. So, and that problem also goes to Mr. Trump, and Mr. Putin, and Mr. Netanyahu, the big balls man saying my is bigger than yours, and I'm gonna bomb the out of you. It's a male toxic behavior that is creating thousands of dead people. So, yeah, we have to talk about it.